Well, a U.S. trade court on Thursday ruled against President Donald Trump's latest 10% global tariffs, finding across-the-board tariffs were not justified under the 1970s trade law. The U.S. Court of International Trade ruled in favor of small businesses that challenged the tariffs, which took effect on February 24th. A split 2-1 panel on the U.S. Court of International Trade ruled the administration had not properly justified the tariffs under Section 122 of the Trade Act of 1974. The U.S. Court of International Trade's decision leaves the temporary tariffs in place for all other importers, while any appeal by the Trump administration plays out. Well, the small businesses had argued the new tariffs were an attempt to sidestep a landmark U.S. Supreme Court decision that struck down the Republican president's 2025 tariffs imposed under the International Emergency Economic Powers Act. While the ruling applies to a set of levies due to expire in about 2 months, it marks another major setback for Trump's global tariffs ambitions and comes a week before the U.S. president is due to discuss trade tensions with Chinese President Xi Jinping in Beijing. And the United States imposed financial sanctions on a sprawling business conglomerate run by Cuba's military and a Cuban-Canadian mining joint venture as the Trump administration ramps up pressure on the island's communist leaders by targeting sources of foreign investment. Now, Trump last week signed an executive order broadening U.S. sanctions against Cuba, a move President Miguel Diaz-Canel decried as coercive. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio accused Cuba's government of providing a platform for the intelligence operations of nations hostile to the U.S. allegations Cuba denies. The U.S. has for decades demanded Cuba open its state-run economy, pay repatriations for reparations expropriated by government of former leader Fidel Castro and hold free and fair elections. Cuba has said its form of socialist government is not up for negotiations. Top Cuban officials accuse Washington of hinting at a military action to liberate Cuba and say decades of U.S. sanctions against the island's government are the root cause of its economic and social woes. Well, UN experts on Thursday said Trump's fuel blockade on Cuba amounts to energy starvation, with grave consequences for the Caribbean island nation's development and human rights.